What?
Bet $10 we just jump scared the fuck out of somebody. Apologize, folks. I'm sorry.
And as someone who's easily jump scared, I'm also doubly apologizing for that.
Because now she feels guilty for having jump scared people when she doesn't like being jump scared herself.
Nope.
Anyway, hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Not bad. Not bad. I have me an extra large gas station soda to my right.
Good.
It's delicious.
I have a cup full of water to my right.
I just finished slamming some subpar microwavable mac and cheese. Yeah, it's gross, but it's fine.
Is it the kind that's gonna make your tummy go a rumbly?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's fine.
That's the good kind.
It's the best kind. That's the best kind. The kind that internally destroys your digestive system. It's the only kind of macaroni and cheese to have.
And makes you regret life.
Yeah, and makes you regret your decisions while simultaneously being very happy that you did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, but hi, this is the podcast where we talk about neurodivergent shit, believe it or not. My name's Niki, and that there is Amanda. And we like to destroy our digestive systems.
On a daily basis.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today, Amanda. Is it?
No.
Is it, friend?
Not.
It's not. No. What are these people in for today?
We are kind of like following up on the last episode, talking about accommodations, like our hot takes on them, if you will.
Hot
basically,
takes on accommodations.
Yeah, basically what we think, like how much is too much, or like certain accommodations that are to us are reasonable. Like obviously our opinions are not going to match other people's opinions.
They're like assholes. We all have them, right? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's in our disclaimer, by the way. Mm-hmm. If you take the time to read that, we are not doctors, nor do we even play them on television. So please do not listen to a fucking thing we say. It's all opinion and conjecture and bullshit most of the time. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure diseases around here. We just kind of talk about our life as neurodivergent women in this neurotypical world that we live in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
as you can tell, both of our brains are already leaking out of our ears, and it's only been 3 minutes. So
yeah, but per usual, ma'am, we have some fuckery for the folks today. What would you like to begin with today?
Let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and do the AI story since I have that pulled up.
Yeah, so let's recap the folks. Last week, Jeremy was painting us a Birmingham. He was painting a beautiful vision, his psychic vision, if you will, of the demise of the village where he lives, because these motherfuckers can't get along. And they're going to tear their village apart by not getting along. And it was quite the scene. So if you want to know what happened to Jeremy last week, you're going to have to go listen to last week's episode. Because I'm done giving you spoilers. I'm over it.
And we also have bullet points, a bullet point thing about the story.
Which I don't know. I haven't shared it to any of the things yet. So we'll see. Maybe I will this time.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get into it. Jeremy, what's he up to? Let's talk about it.
So the sentence given was, the longer Jeremy the psychic hack spent the longer wow, off to a great start.
Let's try again.
Okay. Okay. Sentence given. The longer Jeremy, the psychic cat, spent painting his vision, the more terrifying it became. Stop!
Sorry. The more terrifying it became. We can't start now. We haven't even made it through the goddamn sentence. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now. Go.
Okay. The longer Jeremy, the second cat, spent painting his vision, the more terrifying it became. The lone figure on the beach appeared to be the cause of all this death between the factions. The city of Brass, contained within a storm cloud and surrounded by the sea, was ruled by King Charming upon his glass throne. A dragon, with blood on its claws and teeth, was sleeping on a steel throne. Okay. The specters could not help but ask themselves why the sand paintings had suddenly got so detailed. Wu, the dragon's princess, sensed their fear and reassured them that everything would be okay. Everything in the world was fine. Only this one piece needed to be dealt with. The old hag, Aika, had promised, would not end well for anyone. I know you must be very upset, and I'm sorry for the loss of your people, Aika found herself saying, somewhat haltingly. But we have to fix this to prevent any more deaths. This is a dire situation. We can't let people die because of these wars between the factions. The loyal, the inclined, and the opposed must learn to live together in peace. She took a step back and turned to She took a step back and turned to look the boys full in the face. When you see Kuzao, you are to do nothing more than talk with him and make him see that if you can't come to a reasonable compromise now, then it is better to end this nonsense now than to drag it out any longer. We will talk to the people of all the factions. In the meantime, you're on your own. The boys looked at Aika, and she knew that they had no idea what was being said, but that they were trying to grasp something. The fact that her words had made sense to them was a relief, and Aika realized that, for a boy, she was the only one who would have spoken in that way.
I'm sorry, what? We have gender swapped right in the middle of the fucking thing. Okay, but that's fine. That's allowed these days. It's okay. Go ahead.
Aika realized that, for a boy, she was the only one who could have spoken in that way, allowing them to understand. Because, as you know, boys don't understand what girls or women have to say.
Clearly. I don't even think the AI understands what gender it's trying to convey here, so it's okay. It's okay.
It's just an AI. The boys seemed troubled by what had happened. At least they believed that it was the cat who had painted the bloody cats. Wu was still visibly upset by all this death, and the young cat named Jeremy did not seem to think that the spirit on the beach was the killer. When the boys finally moved off to return to their lives, it was to a cat's house that they turned. No one recognized Jeremy's wooden front door, but the cat's home was situated among a row of similar wooden doors, with a patch of bright green moss growing between them. The green moss was growing upon a wall that looked like the ocean on the beach painting, but it was in fact that wall with the dark lines of a vast jungle. "What is it? What are you doing here?" Jeremy finally asked. He was wearing a plain white shirt with blue stripes. His dirty black pants was covered in dirt, but he had otherwise decided that he would not shower in this world. The Wicked Witch had cursed it, and there was nothing to be done about it. He had been alone.
Sorry.
He had been alone for some time and had decided that the mud and sand made up for a lack of housing.
What the fuck?
What?
It's having a stroke. It's having a stroke.
The cat hesitated for a moment and then answered, "It's good to be home, Jeremy. I'm so sorry that I have been distant. I cannot explain the trouble that I'm in, but you must be aware that we have been very busy. The city of Brass has sent many of its people to help the city of Rocks, and the fight for the city of Cats has been especially fierce. The war that we began was too in a different way, but I guess all things have their own magic, and it has taken all our time and work to put a stop to it. We have faced the lion people and the fox people. We fought a dragon, and we struck the spirit on the beach with magic, but I didn't know that fight was about to start with the citizens of the city of Rock until the painting started." Jeremy's face was full of confusion. The end.
Much like mine. Jesus Christ. What has occurred here? I am so confused.
It's like combining like 3 children's fantasy novels into one.
Obviously. Oh, God damn it. We're gonna do this now. That's frustrating. Okay. All right. I mean, good God. So we have an AI that clearly does not understand gender. Fine. Whatever. We have some new players in the game here. Lots of names. Seemingly anime-inspired ones. Then we have bloody cats and several more cities and a jungle in the middle of regular old houses and Jeremy not knowing who the fuck he is or who they are, or that a shower is okay in a world in which a witch has cursed. There's a lot happening here, folks. A lot. Please, go follow along with the story because you're gonna need the goddamn subtitles for this one. This is a lot of information that makes a lot of no sense. That's all I'm going to say. That was a fever dream, if there ever was one. Amanda.
Yes.
We have some new animals for you today.
Oh yeah? Oh yeah? What are they?
We have an anonymous leopard. Leopard. Ooh. That's how I remember how to spell it. Leopard. And we also have an anonymous jackal.
So, to me, pretty similar. I'm going to go with leopard.
To me, pretty similar. Okay. No, not at all. Two completely different fucking, what am I, species? Families in the animal kingdom?
So, to me, they're two four-legged carnivore mammals, okay?
Yes, that's as close as it gets. One is a dog family. One is a cat family. We're way off here. Did you get AI'd? I'm confused. Are you okay?
I don't need your sass and your concernment. It's like, I don't need this.
Concernment? Jesus. Yeah. Lord help us. The AI has gotten to her brain. The AI got her, y'all. She is gone.
Concertainment. It's basically like, stop fucking with me.
Okay. Okay, I will. Moving on. So who did you pick?
Leopard.
All of that to not remember? Leopard. Okay, cool. So you're a leopard today. Anonymous leopard. Good deal. Moving on from that fuckery. We have a Mad Lib. Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
This is you also.
Yep.
What do you need from me?
First, I need a noun.
A merkin. Do you know what a merkin is?
It sounds...
Google it. Google it.
It sounds Jewish. I don't know what to tell you.
No. No, ma'am. Did you Google a merkin?
Not yet. Hold on.
No, you're gonna have some interesting. You're gonna have some interesting.
Is it Merkin?
Sure. I don't know.
Oh God, that's not as bad as
fucked up your algorithm.
Well, that's not as bad as blue waffle, but I mean, it's still awful.
Excuse? I don't know what that means.
Don't Google it.
Okay, I won't. I don't plan on it.
If you don't want to, bleach your eyes.
Okay. Yeah, a merkin is like a vagina wig.
Which I'm like, why would you need one? Why would you need one?
It's like a toupee for your vag, okay? That's what it is. I don't know.
And how did you come across
they want to have a 70s fro in their pants. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Anyway.
Okay.
What else?
Next one is adjective.
Prissy.
Part of the body.
In the spirit of merkin, how about vulva? It gets better.
Okay. There's definitely a theme going on here.
Ish.
Number?
9,000.
It's over 9,000. Article of clothing, plural.
Mormons' sacred underwear.
Oh boy. About to get some people mad.
I don't give a fuck.
Underwear.
You know where the stop listening button is.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately of this one channel that are like ex-Mormons, and it's pretty interesting. Okay.
I'm losing my headphones. Hold, please. My hair and headphones are not cooperating here. Okay, that's better. What did you say?
Oh. Also, I'm looking at the picture you sent me, and you covered up part of the words with the little post-it note, and so I can't see what it says.
Oops, sorry. So, article of clothing, adjective? What else can't you see?
It says article of clothing. It's like towards the middle. Article of clothing. Like, look at your picture that you sent me.
Oh, hell. y'all, because she's not physically here. I have to take a picture of the story, right? And send it to her so that she can see the Mad Lib, because I have the Mad Lib at my house. Like, I have the book at my house. We probably just each need to get our own Mad Lib book and do it that way.
Yeah.
Which we should do next time.
Yes.
But we're not smart, so it's fine. Hold on, let me see here. I did it again, goddammit. Okay. I'm resending it to you, okay?
Okay. Because I'm like, do you see what I mean? It's like I can't see part of that. There it is.
Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. We fixed it, folks.
Let me open it up. There we go.
Real time shit here.
Real time technical difficulties. And
it's fine. This is a technical difficulty podcast. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
We're almost done with this one. We have 2 left after this.
Okay.
And then we can move on to a new Mad Lib.
So I did the number. Okay. There are clothing. Okay, next one is adjective.
Robust.
Robust. Noun.
Dildo.
Just based on where it goes in the sentence, it's just funny. Hold on, what? Adjective.
Another one? Yes, perplexed.
It's perplexing. I'm assuming that would be more an adjective. Like if you perplex them. Type of food.
Pumpkin spice latte. It's not a food, it's a drink, but it works.
It also very much works in this sentence. And
good.
Color.
Ice blue, like my hair.
Yay. It is very nice looking hair.
Yes, I like it a lot.
Verb ending in ing.
Fucking.
Article of clothing, plural.
I don't know what I did here. I thought that said part of the body plural, so I wrote penile regions. I guess I was looking at the wrong thing. I was like, that's an interesting thing to have a plural, but okay. So article of clothing?
Yep.
Plural? God damn it. Now I have to come up with this on the spot. How about
something like footy pajamas or whatever.
Or fucking, I don't know, furry socks. I don't know, fuzzy socks. I don't fucking know.
Okay, fuzzy socks. I'll do fuzzy socks. Verb.
Abscond.
Ooh, getting fancy. Is that when you like take something?
Yes.
Steal something?
To abscond with something is to take it and run with it. Steal it.
Take it and run.
Steal it.
Noun.
Candle.
Here's a part of the body. There you go.
Taint. I had a really good one for the next one.
Article of clothing.
Papal robes.
Papal robes. Oh boy. Making the Mormons and the Catholics mad.
Sorry, Scott. I had to be equal opportunity asshole. It's fine.
Person in room.
Fucking Jeremy.
Okay.
Because he always counts.
Okay, here we go. This is called Greetings from Seattle. So, dear Heather Merkenleer, greetings.
That tracks.
Greetings from Prissy, Seattle. My trip has been totally vulva opening. Did you did you know that it rains 9,000 days out of the year?
That
People
tracks.
for Seattle, yeah. People don't even care if their Mormon sacred underwear get wet. Then there's the robust coffee. I found this local cafe called Dildo Bucks that you would love. The coffee is so perplexing. I don't even drink it with milk or pumpkin spice latte. I I take it ice blue. But mostly, I've been fucking the local music scene. In Seattle, everyone wears plaid fuzzy socks and listens to grunge. From what I can tell, grunge is when you abscond a guitar, scream into a candle, and stop bathing into your taint gets greasy.
Ew. Oh no. Ew, ew, ew. I can't. No, ma'am.
I have to go now. I'm going to buy a flannel papal robe to fit in with the crowd. Love, fucking Jeremy.
I've been fucking the music scene. I bet you
Fucking
have,
music
Jeremy.
scene.
Fucking Jeremy. Oh my god. Heather Merkenleer. I bet Heather Locklear didn't need a merkin back then. Just saying.
No. Nope.
She probably had a robust pubic area. How about that? To use another word from our shit. We're gonna get canceled. It's fine.
Sorry, Heather Locklear. You're fine.
Sorry, Heather Locklear. Sorry, Heather Merkenleer and the Mormons and the Catholics.
We're just offending everybody.
Hashtag canceled. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, well, in the spirit of getting canceled, I suppose we could move on with our topic. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because this one might get us canceled, but it's fine. Maybe not. Maybe more people agree with us than we realize they might. Or maybe you don't even agree with me. We'll find out. But, let me situate myself here. Geriatric body needs to move around every once in a while. So basically, I came up with this idea for this topic because, again, I'm going to mention this podcast a lot because once I get started on things, I just kind of binge listen and then I can go back to a normal life. But the podcast I've mentioned before is called On the Spectrum Podcast. It's basically us, but male version and slightly funnier. They do a very similar thing. They talk about their experience as autistic males. And they actually got to interview Temple Grandin, which in the community, I'm sure you know who she is. If not, please Google her. She's done a lot for the autistic community. But in her interview with them, she had mentioned the story of being at the airport due to a flight delay and speaking with a mother and her son who was autistic, and he was in his teens and he had never shopped in a store before because his mother, like by himself, because his mother was sort of scared to let him do that for himself. And so she tells the story about how she sort of talks to the mother and explains to her that, you know, the kid at 13 should be able to walk into a store and make a purchase, especially with his level of support need, which was not as high as maybe some other autistics would have. And she sort of kind of touched on how she feels like overly accommodating children or living out of fear with getting these diagnoses of autism and ADHD, how that can basically hinder somebody from being able to understand their full potential and basically like handicaps them in a way. That's the handicap in that aspect, is they're never challenged. There's no challenge. And if you're not challenging someone, then you don't really know what their full potential is. And that really just kind of got me thinking like about sort of my journey and being late diagnosed and how I kind of felt about the fact that it sort of changed how I felt about the fact that I had no accommodations as a child and as a teen and as an adult, because I didn't know I was autistic and I didn't know I had ADHD. And I used to think like maybe things would have been better or whatever had I known earlier, but it kind of got me to thinking about that. So then I brought it up to you and I was like, "Hey, let's try to have a discussion about this and just kind of see what happens." So, I don't want to talk the whole time here. So, do you have thoughts on this idea that it is possible to maybe over accommodate for anyone, but especially like certain levels of support need?
I'd have to say yes, mainly because, obviously my cousin Mark, who I feel has just, to me, it's the point of when does accommodation turn into basically spoiling the person? And I'm not saying like someone with like, say, a physical disability, like how dare you build ramps for wheelchair users, not that
Right,
sort of
right,
thing.
right.
It's more like,
We're not
you
being
know,
ableist over here. The
yeah,
the
yeah,
goal of
we're not
this conversation is not to be ableist whatsoever. It's just a thought-provoking discussion. That's all.
So we talked about this like during this, or like talking about schooling episode where
Mhm.
Mark wasn't really challenged. He, had resource classes, which is fine. Like that's fine, but it's like the fact is like the resource classes are no more than like basically babysitting the kids for during the time that they're in there, not letting them like and not having them write anything substantial or do any schoolwork was substantial, that sort of thing. Basically, let's just get these kids graduated. That's all we care about.
Right.
Um, and so it's the point, like, basically growing up, yeah, we always kinda, like, knew Mark was different in the fact that he had outbursts, more, like, frequently. He, um not that it took him time to, like, grasp something, it's just he had to explain it differently for him,
Yeah.
but it's got to the point where, as a kid, like, he always played outside, he, like, what wasn't necessarily, like, say, like, bugs, dirt, whatever, and he was fine, but then I think it almost got to the point where he kind of knew, well, if I just act scared of it, people won't make me do it. So, or
Gotcha.
if I start acting like if I don't have to if I just act like I'm capable of doing this thing, people won't make me have to do the thing. Kind of like anything that had to do with bugs. He like granted I don't like bugs, but it's like anything to do with bugs, like anything to do with dirt. Like he just all of a sudden decided that he could not handle anything like that. Couldn't handle touching anything, couldn't, and now it's like his parents basically never made him work, he's never had a job, doesn't know how to drive, basically he's 34, lives at home, just plays video games all day. That's it. I'm like, "You are," and they always have this excuse, "Well, he can't, like, he's incapable." I'm like, "No, he's autistic and has ADHD. He's not a moron." Okay?
Right.
To me, that's, and so it's to the point where, like, yes, like, say kids in school, like, if they need extra time to take a test, then fine. That's fine. But if you basically just not make the kid take the test because you don't think they're
Right.
gonna, it's not gonna do anything for them, then that's not fine. And so, like, I thought I would benefit from, like, having, like, longer test taking thing, like, being in a classroom, taking a test does not bother me, like, I think I'd probably be worse if I was, and this is just my own experience, like, if I know some kids, they do better if they're in, like, a quiet room by themselves take a test, that I couldn't do that because I would just dream, like, daydream the entire time and not get anything done.
Right.
Um, so, like, what about you? Like, if you had these kind of accommodations, what would basically, if you know what you know now, if you knew back then, what would be like your ideal accommodation for, say, like test taking?
Well, I mean, I think as far as tests go, I I don't like to be timed, right? So I think taking the timed factor off of it, not even that I get more time because I think if knowing that I didn't have to be timed and I could take my time finishing the test, just having that pressure taken off, I probably would have finished the test in the same amount of time everybody else did. But I think on things like math, especially if I had more time to ask myself questions and try to figure out this answer and give myself more time to figure it out, as opposed to having to hurry up and answer the question or risk getting zero credit for that question. I think I probably would have been a little bit of a better test taker,
Mhm.
but I think just school in general, um if we're going to start there, I feel like I don't know that me knowing would have changed anything,
Yeah.
because I my whole life I've sort of learned the hard way with everything, and I think that's just how my brain is wired to learn. I don't think I can, well, and I'll give context on that as to why I think so. So, for me, I just being very self-reflective lately, I have noticed that, sorry, I just heard a really weird noise in my room.
I don't see anything behind you. No ghosties there.
Hello? Might have been something hitting the window too, because it's like raining.
Mhm.
So it might have just been like a really difficult raindrop or something, but difficult raindrop. You know what I meant. And, well, sometimes like my bathroom is connected to my son's room, and sometimes he'll come through the bathroom to come into my room, and I have these noise canceling headphones on, so I can't fucking hear anything. But I heard what sounded like a creak, so I was like, "Oh, is he behind me?" Anyway, sorry, I got totally taken off track there. Anyway, so what I was saying was, I've been really self-reflective lately, and I feel like I am, in some ways, making excuses for myself more so now than I ever have since being diagnosed. And what I mean by that is, in the past, before I knew that any of this was what I was dealing with, never outwardly struggled with getting all the things done I should get done in a day, right? I had this external expectation and internal expectation that I had to behave and be a certain way. I had this mask on that I didn't even know I had on, and I was operating on these perceived expectations of what a woman and a person who stays home with their kids should behave like, right? And
Mhm.
how a neurotypical person, before I knew what that was, what the societal expectation of me was, right? I had these external pressures to behave and be a certain way. So that external pressure sort of forced me to stay consistent with things like care tasks and chores and my appearance and things like that, right? Now,
Mhm.
let's be realistic. It's not sustainable, which is why I had a full on fucking spiral out meltdown, right? And went into heavy burnout and heavy depression. So I'm not saying that it's a sustainable thing, but I feel like there was a massive pendulum swing in the opposite direction of that. And I started using this diagnosis, once I found out about it, to justify why I wasn't doing things that I knew I was capable of doing. And that could have just been the intense mental burnout happening, or it could be that I was just so relieved to know why I was struggling with certain things that it's just like, well, I don't have to do this because, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be stressed out, so I'm just not going to. And that was also just as detrimental to me, because I was falling out of any kind of routine whatsoever and just allowing myself to do absolutely nothing. And then that put too much pressure on my husband, who also works a full time job as an incredibly supportive person and father. And then it kind of left him to do everything all by himself. And I didn't like how that made me feel either. So I just sort of got to thinking about it. And I think that the pendulum needs to find its way back to the middle. And that's what I've been kind of trying to do. but that may be a very normal, very natural progression of things like this. I don't know because I only have my own experience to go off, right? Like where you've performed and overperformed your whole life, right? And then you find out that there's a reason behind you not being able to continue to overperform in that way, right? And there's a reason behind your burnout. And so you're like, fuck it, I'm not doing anything now, right? And you just fully lean all the way into that. And it becomes an excuse like unknowingly. It became like an excuse to me. And
Mhm.
I don't want to be that person, right? And I know that that might be challenging for somebody to hear, and it may sound like a very ableist thing to say, where I'm like, well, I was using my autism as an excuse. Or, you know, your autism is not an excuse for your shitty behavior or your, you know, whatever. For some people, you know, there is, I don't really know how to say this without sounding problematic. I just don't, but I'm not, just know that I'm not trying to be problematic. It's more so of a personal self-reflection and not a projection onto all autistics as a whole who say that they can't do something because they're autistic. That might be their truth, and that might be very it might be very necessary for them to say, listen, I'm autistic, I can't do XYZ, right? But for me, it was beginning to become too much of a crutch. And so I had to figure out, how do I swing that pendulum back to the middle where I can still get things accomplished, but in a way that does not cause me to overperform like I used to do and lead me to burnout. Kind of like we discussed the other day when we were talking about like um how I won't clean all week and then slam my entire cleaning routine into 2 days, and how I don't really want to do that anymore because it's exhausting, and then I get no time off whatsoever because I work full time, and so does my husband. As to where you're like, well, I just sort of clean as I go and sort of do things here and there, and it makes it easier. I've been trying to implement more of that, and it has been making life easier. So it's just being observant to um my own personal self, and the things that have been going on around me and how I've been feeling. I didn't like who I was when I was completely denying the autistic side of me, or unaware of the autistic side of me, and I was overperforming um and burning myself out, and I didn't like the side of the person that I was when I leaned full in to all of the things that stressed me out and decided that I'm just not going to do those things anymore because I don't have to, you know what I mean?
It's basically
S
a matter of doing what's best for you while also how it pertains to other people. Like, you obviously
Correct.
you need to be a functioning member, like, not you need to be, like, functioning member of society, but also so you can't, like, lean, like, "Well, that's just my autism doing that." Like,
It
I
was
can't help that.
selfish. It was
Yeah.
selfish because I am not only one person. Like,
Mm,
I don't live by myself. I'm not a single person. I have a husband and 2 children. If I was a single person, maybe it wouldn't matter. We'll get your perspective on that because you don't have kids. So, like, I don't know what that looks like for someone who's single, so I'll let you divulge that, but for me, it was beginning to become a selfish thing because my husband also has needs and also would like, I'm sure, to not have to do the dishes every night just because I don't like doing them. And I'm sure he would also like to not be in charge of the laundry every day because I don't like doing it either. And it just got to a place where I was behaving selfishly. At first, it was out of self preservation because I was burnt out, right? But then it became too easy to not challenge myself to
mhm. Like, you
begin
relied
to
too
do the
much on
things.
him to do
Correct.
everything.
Right, correct. It became too easy to not challenge myself to do the things that I didn't necessarily want to do because that's not making me grow as a person, right? Like, I can't grow as a person if I'm never challenged. And I think going back to the school thing, I can't say that my life would have been any better had I known, because I am a person who learns best by making a lot of mistakes. I just am. Like, I know what I know from hitting a lot of fucking walls and then having to figure out how to pick up my pieces again and move forward, right? I've had my best revelations and my most growth by fucking it all up on my own and fixing it all on my own. So I don't know that me as a person would have benefited from being overly accommodated. Now, do I think some things would have been easier had I been mildly accommodated, and maybe I wouldn't have reached a point of burnout and, total self-destruction at one point had I been mildly accommodated or had I known beforehand? Sure, absolutely. I might have saved myself some mental health problems, but maybe not. I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. I can't answer that question. So, like, what about you? How do you feel about that?
So for me, like you just said, like my perspective as a single person, like yes, it's basically in my experience, if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done.
Right.
So I have to do it. So there was like when Mark did live with me, and so there were times where be see Mark. Okay, so this is kind of like backtracking. So growing up, my mom did not make me do chores as much because she was basically a stay-at-home mom. She was on disability, whatever. She, received disability, did not have to work, blah blah, could not work.
Right, because she was
So,
chronically ill. Like,
yes,
there was a
chronically ill.
reason she was chronically ill.
And so she did not have me do chores that most like kids or teenagers would do. And so cuz in her mind, it's like, well, I'm at home, why would I make my daughter who goes to school full time do the stuff that I can just do during the day?
Right.
So, yes. So, like, I had my first job at 17, um, like, the summer I turned 17. I think I only had it for, like, 3 months, but I got fired because, you had to just for cash handling purposes, I was off my drawer too many times, whatever. My mom did not make me get another job after that because she said, "Your school, for me, is your full-time job. So as long as you do well in school, you don't have to get a job." So she didn't really teach me much about doing laundry. Like I can figure out dishes, I did dishes, whatever, that's fine. So she didn't really make me do much. And so when I moved out at 20, I kind of had to learn it on my own. My mom had to then teach me certain things. And so I kind of had to like grow up pretty quickly. Which I know like for a lot of people they tend to do this sort of stuff like when they're teenagers and still living at home. So, there was, like, all this stuff I did not know, like, a lot of adulting I had to do and had to figure out. And then I lived with Mark, like, Mark lived with me, and while Mark had to do chores because he had 2 parents, both worked, um, so Mark and his brother had to do chores, but because he didn't have his parents around to basically just tell him to do the chores, he wasn't gonna do them himself.
Right.
So, we created
There was
a
no
little
intrinsic motivation.
Right. We created, like, a little system where we did index cards where, like, Monday you would do this, Tuesday you do this, because I was working and he was not, so he's at home all day, so it makes sense that you're gonna do this stuff. But then I got into such a deep depression at one point that basically my whole house was a disaster, like, an absolute disaster, like, even before you helped me clean it out, my mom helped me clean it out at one point because my house was an absolute disaster, and I felt bad because I didn't wanna make Mark clean up that sort of mess,
Yeah.
and because it was my mess, most of the stuff was my mess, Mark kept his room clean, everything else in the house was basically my fault. So now, I'm at the point where I don't get my house that way, but it's also like, if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done. So
Right.
because 'cause I'm just one person, and so, yeah, there are days, like, I've been kinda neglecting my house the past week, and then I'm trying to get everything done before I go on my trip next Friday, so that way I don't come back home and it's a complete mess. Um, in terms of the whole, like, challenging yourself sort of thing, I remember when I went on my first Spain trip, I remember when I was telling you about it and about how I had to basically travel alone. Like, I flew from Nashville to Boston, Boston to Spain. I was in Spain by myself for a day before Scott could meet me, and I remember you telling me that would give me so much anxiety. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. And
Yeah.
it's like, yes, I had so much anxiety, but if I didn't do it, it wouldn't get done. Basically, I
Right.
had to challenge myself to do it because it's like I
Right.
couldn't just sit and cry at the airport and like,
Right.
just worry too much. Basically, but I accommodated myself in a way to where I was even telling my boss this yesterday that I even created myself a PDF of the Google Maps, like, street view and overview of what it would look like when I left the airport in Madrid to take the metro and then walk to my Airbnb. Like, what it would look like when I left, what it looked like what would I see on the other side of the street, what the Airbnb looked like, that like the what street signs I would need to look for, stuff like
That's
that. So that
smart.
was yeah, that was me accommodating myself. 'Cause it's like if I just arrived at the airport and where
Yeah.
the metro a metro in Madrid is connected directly to the airport, like basically just go in the basement, there's the metro, which I
Mhm.
had no idea how to use. So that gave me anxiety, but it's like if if I don't do this, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get to my trip. I'm not gonna make it to Scott if I just don't get on the fucking metro and get it done. So basically, to tie us all in, it's like basically I like you. I did not have these accommodations in school, working, whatever. I probably now for work, I have told my boss like this is what I've been diagnosed with. This is what I believe I have. Like I'm not expecting you to treat me pretty much any different. I just want some sort of grace in certain things, which
Right.
she was totally fine with. Whereas my previous boss, I could not have done that because it would just either be seen as an excuse or I just would be seen as lacking.
Yeah.
So it just all depends on the type of boss, teacher, whatever, supervisor, whoever you have. But I'm just wondering, like, the whole accommodation thing, if I like, say, like I said, I probably the one thing I would have had in school, it's like I would like to have, like, maybe 10, 15 minutes extra time to do testing. Like, time stuff doesn't necessarily bother me, like, I don't like to be short timed on things, like, something that I think should take me 45 minutes, don't give me 30 minutes to do,
Right, right.
but, um but I like, usually, like, timers don't necessarily bother me. I'm not one to, like, really look at the clock for at least for testing stuff. So but sometimes I think, like, for kids, um I'm trying to say this without sounding like an asshole.
Mhm.
So, it just
That's
to
gonna
me,
be
like,
this whole
some
episode.
well, it's I even earlier, I was searching, like, I was searching, like, Reddit, and there's, like, a lot of teachers on Reddit. There's, like, a teachers Reddit, like, a subreddit, and they're like, "I have so many kids now that have so many accommodations, it's like, when is it getting too much?"
Right.
And that, that could be them, like, venting, whatever, it's their right to
Right.
do that. But they're like a lot of posts were like, the accommodations in my class have doubled or tripled in the past few years," which it's like, okay. And then there was another post I actually want to talk about that I saw on Facebook. I was gonna send this to you earlier, but it was just I don't know what I think might be Tumblr, but anyway, the post says, "Sick list of symptoms, bro. Now try humanizing your behavior instead of pathologizing it." And it says, pathologizing. God, that's hard to say.
Pathologizing.
Pathologizing. Oh my god. Pathologizing is, "Hey, sorry I yelled at you. I have this ADHD symptom called RSD that makes me really sensitive." Humanizing is, "Hey, I'm sorry that I blew up like that earlier. In the moment, I felt really attacked and overwhelmed, and I reacted badly. But I know you didn't mean to offend me with what you said, so that behavior is on me." A lot of the comments were like, "No, it's actually both. You can do both. You can explain to someone that this happened because of this reason, but it's up to me
Right.
to take, like, to own myself for doing that."
Right.
Um, so it's like a lot of them. So I don't agree really with, like, oh, you can't use that as an excuse for everything.
Correct. I tell my children this quite often. I'm always okay with you giving me a reason. What I'm not okay with is you giving me an excuse, because there are valid reasons why behaviors happen. However, it does not change the fact that it happened, right? And there's still consequences for every action. For example, I tell them a lot, like, Nicholas has issues sometimes with anger. as kids his age will anyway. He just hit puberty, right? Like they gonna rage around this
Mhm.
age. Okay. It's the age of rage right now. And so on top of that, he has ADHD and autism. So he is more prone to bigger emotions. And he'll get ragey and he'll say and do things that he wouldn't say and do if he wasn't emotionally overstimulated or pissed off. And I always tell him that while I understand that his intention might not have been to do what he did, he still did it. And there still has to be a consequence for that action. Consequences are neutral. They're morally neutral in my eyes, right? Every action has a consequence, good, bad, or otherwise, right? I don't use the word consequence in a negative light in my house. It is what it is, right? If
Mhm.
you, the consequence to you going to bed on time is that you're going to be more rested the next day. The consequence to you punching your brother in the back because he pissed you off is that now I own all your shit, right? Like you're grounded, right? So, like, it is what it is. Either way, it's still a consequence. Every action has a reaction. It is what it is. You can't expect that your behavior isn't going to warrant some sort of consequence, good, bad, or otherwise. And so that's how we discuss it in my house. You cannot use the fact that you were angry as an excuse for you to punch your brother, because we don't use our hands when we're mad, right? We use our words. And so I still have to give, while I understand that he did it because he has a hard time controlling his emotions because he's autistic and he has ADHD, right? It does not excuse the behavior. It doesn't. Not in my house. It does not excuse the behavior. You still have to have a consequence for punching your brother, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of how we talk about that in our house.
Right.
So, sorry, I just got a really funny text. Got distracted. I shouldn't have picked up my phone. It's you'll appreciate this. Other girls in sweatshirts, and it's like this beautiful brunette with like a blowout, and she's just like got her hand in her pocket, this big oversized sweatshirt, and she looks gorgeous. And it says me in men's, oh no, other girls in men's sweatshirts, I'm sorry. And then it says me in men's sweatshirts, and it's fucking the Trunchbull from Matilda.
I know the
That's true.
exact picture. Or before she like starts. Yep.
The shot put
Yeah, the
picture.
shot put the disc.
Yeah. Discus, yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry. Thanks, boss lady, for distracting me and giving us a giggle. I'm telling, I'm recording right now, and this just made it on the show. Anyway, what are your thoughts
On
this whole? I don't know. What was I just saying? I don't know.
Oh, the whole
on excuses versus reasons. Excuses versus reasons.
Yeah, like I said, it can turn, like, a reason can turn to excuse pretty easily. Um, and though I find in my experience that a lot of times when I'm trying to give a reason for something, people, just different people, not everybody, but like different people often see me as me giving an excuse.
Yeah,
It's like
same.
I'm not giving an excuse. I am just trying to give you reason. Like I've talked about before, when I first got this position, I told my boss, I just want to put it out there that if I ask a question, that's not me arguing against it. That's me
Right.
wanting more information. And that's why I'm asking a question. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the same way." Whereas other people, if I ask a question, they think that's me talking back to them.
Right,
And
right.
so it's kind of like, I know like a lot of people are going to take what you say differently. Um like I know try and phrase this. Like it's gotten to, like I said, it's gotten to the point where sometimes I feel accommodations for certain things are basically, like we've talked about, not challenging the person, it's spoiling them, and it's basically hindering their growth. They're not going to
Right.
change or evolve as a person if you either do everything for them
Right.
or you make it so they never learn from anything. So,
Right.
like I said earlier, how like my mom didn't have me really do chores when I was a kid. So that led to me being an adult. not knowing how to do anything. Like,
Right.
so it's like, I love my mother dearly, and I even told her before, it's like, I kind of wish you would have taught me this sort of thing. Like I still don't like, I don't know, like, you know, just certain adulting things, like normal
Right.
things a 34-year-old should know how to do. It's
Right.
like, I feel like I don't feel like a proper adult because I either have to Google how to do it or whatever.
Yeah. And see,
So
that's the
it's
opposite
yeah.
for me because my mom was a single mom, and this is no bullshit to my mother, like no shade, whatever. We had to learn how to do shit from a young age because she was a single mom and she needed the help. And it's not like she had us run around there like fucking Cinderella or nothing, but you best believe we knew how to use the microwave at like 7 and 8 years old. I knew how to put my own clothes in the washing machine and put the detergent in and start it. I couldn't get them out of the washing machine because I'm no taller now than I fucking was then. You know what I mean? So like I'm pretty much been a whole 4'3" my entire life. You know, I've only grown a foot in my entire life since age of 7, but I couldn't get in there to get them out, but I could start it, right? And I could definitely fold it and put it away myself once she got it. I could get out of the dryer and fold it and put it away. Um, I liked to cook. It was something I was interested in as a kid, so I learned to use the stove and the oven at probably a younger age than some kids might learn that because I liked it and was interested in it. So I felt like I was entrusted with a lot more at a very young age. Not only was I the oldest, but like there was a summer that I babysat all of my siblings at age 14 and Andy. So like I had my sister, so all of Josh's kids, you remember Skylar, Cody, and Alyssa, right?
Mhm.
So all of Josh's kids plus Andrew plus Lisa. So I was like the summer caretaker for that one, few months that summer. And I remember getting like really overwhelmed with my sister one day. Like this memory is burnt in my brain. This is just a funny story, so I have to tell it. But I was such a responsible adult that like they entrusted me to watch all these kids. And my sister is my sister and I love her to fucking death, but her and I just never got along as kids. And I remember making Kool-Aid. And I think I made pink lemonade or something. And she wanted some other kind of Kool-Aid. And I said, fuck you, I've already made I didn't say fuck you. I was like, forget it, I've already made this. You'll drink it or you'll have water, right? Well, she got pissed off. And when I went in the other room to check on Andy, she dumped the entire pitcher of Kool-Aid down the sink. And she was going to make it herself in the flavor she wanted. And I got so pissed off at her that I smacked the shit out of her. Okay. And I was not, you know me, I'm not like a put my hands on person, right? That's the first time in my life I think I had ever hit her. I was not a very like confrontational child, believe it or not, because I'm quite the confrontational human now. But like then I really wasn't. And so that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that in my entire life. I full on open hand smacked the shit across her face, just pop. And I was she grabbed her face and ran away hysterically crying because I smacked the shit out of her. And I called and told on myself. Like I was that kind of kid, right? But I said that to say like I was entrusted with a lot of responsibility from a young age. And I don't know that I would be any better off had I been more sheltered. I really don't. Like I can credit like do I wish over the years I sort of have had different opinions on this. Like during a lot of my like breakdown in my healing between like 2020 and now, I had a lot of time to think about things. And when you're going through that initial like trauma processing stage, you go from like this like sheer shock to realizing how much happened to you and you're processing all these emotions and it's a lot of tears and it's a lot of sadness. And then that sadness moves into anger, right? It's like the stages of grief, and
Mhm.
then you get mad for all of the things that were robbed from you as a kid, and as an adult and everything, like all the things that were taken from you, all the things you didn't get to experience. And I used to be irritated that I had to grow up so fast. But in all reality, now that I've had some time from the situation, I really didn't grow up that fast. Like, it's not like I was left to raise myself with no mother and no father, and I had to figure out how to raise a bunch of kids by myself. Do you know what I mean? It was just that I was entrusted with more things than a typical 14-year-old would be entrusted with today. But I don't think that did me any disservice whatsoever at this stage in my life. I'm actually happy that I had that experience, because when I had a child at 19 or at 21 of my own, I could take care of him. I already had experience helping with Andy and running a house by myself because my mother needed help. And there was some things I didn't know, but I was able to learn them, and I had less learning curves becoming a parent and a wife and a homemaker myself, right? So I don't think I was lacking much challenge in my life, and I think it set me up quite well to be an effective adult. Had I not been challenged in those ways as a child and a teenager and a young adult, I don't know that I would be as prepared for life as I am. And again, like I said, it probably could have spared me quite a bit of mental health problems. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying that my trauma made me stronger. I'm not saying shit like that. I'm just saying that as far as like, if you can remove the negative shit from the situations that I was in, those situations around the trauma, right, prepared me for being a proper adult. So I can't really complain on that level of things. There's many things in my life I could complain about and could have done without, but being challenged and pushed as a child to be a little bit more adult is probably not the worst of it, right? That's just my perspective.
Yeah, because like I said, my mom, it's not that, like they said, like, not like she didn't make me absolutely do nothing in the house. I
Right.
mean, my mom went back to school when I was like 10.
Yeah.
A neighbor could watch me. Neighbor could watch me from like when I was 10, but like after 10, I stayed home by myself.
Yeah, because you did. That's what we did back then.
Yeah, that was you could leave your 10-year-old kid at home and not get CPS called on you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I could be
and
leaving Nicholas home by himself. I would have
yeah.
been home by myself at 10. Like,
Mhm.
very, very easily home by myself at 10. With my
Yeah.
sister. Like,
Yeah, so
being in charge of her.
yeah, because I remember, like, my cousins and I, like, so Mark is 3 months older than me. His
Right.
brother Michael is, a year and a half younger, and the 3 of us, we kinda just sometimes hung out by ourselves.
Right, you just
Like,
kept each other
no
alive, it's
parents.
fine.
No parents, like,
Right.
and I
There
even,
was a
like, when
house phone. If
Michael,
something happened, you knew what 911 was, it's fine.
like like, the day that okay, so it was during the summer, my Mark and his friend Jeremy were at my
Jeremy!
aunt and uncle, yeah, Jeremy, aunt and uncle's house, and, they were at work, it was summer, and my mom gets a call from Mark that, the house is smoking. So, they they had put a pizza in the oven
Oh,
and then
no.
clicked the self-cleaning button
Oh,
for an oven that has never been
no.
cleaned.
Oh,
So
God.
and so my
So
mom
it
had
was on fire.
left me at home, so they were probably 12. So my mom left me and went to go save them from a house fire. Luckily, we lived close enough, but that's just reminded me. It's like
Oh,
it's so
no.
the fact of the matter is, see, like, and that's what also just reminds me. So Mark, as a kid, was entrusted to stay home alone and basically kind of like not raise himself, but just basically stay alive. Damn it, just stay
Right,
alive
just stay alive.
long enough for me to come home. So now, like, he's basically his parents' house slash dog sitter whenever they
Right.
go on their once a month vacations. Now that they're both retired. So, but the fact is, it's like the whole like going back to the whole accommodation thing. They've just infantilized him so much and hindered him so much that, and they don't realize that when they die, something
There's
has to
gonna
happen
be
to him.
Right, there's gonna be no one to take care of him. I mean, not that he couldn't, like, move in with you or your mom or something, but your mom's also not gonna be on the earth forever. Like, he's gonna have to figure out, at the minimum, how to navigate, like, getting on a bus,
Yeah.
or, like, he's not gonna be able to live with, like, his brother for the rest of his life. He's gonna have
Yeah,
to
because
figure it out.
They even suggested that. They're like, "Well, he'll just, tell Michael to take care of him." Oh, you mean Michael, his brother, who now has a wife, who
Has his
has
own family.
a
Yeah.
child that was just born a few months
Yeah.
ago,
Aw.
and you think that, like, that's not fair to Michael.
No,
Like,
it's not.
Michael is the younger brother who, as far as I'm aware, doesn't really have any neurodivergencies, like maybe ADHD, but I don't know. But he doesn't, as far as I'm aware, but he's the responsible younger brother
Right.
who, when we were growing up, we always took care of Mark, who was older than both of us,
Right.
because his parents couldn't be bothered because they saw that their child was different, but didn't want to do anything reasonable about it.
Right. Instead
Um,
of trying to challenge him and see what he actually was capable of doing and really what he was not capable of doing. I think that was Temple's point. Like, you don't know unless you challenge them and try to figure it out first. Maybe, okay, maybe he really couldn't hold a job. Maybe he really couldn't, right? But they don't know because they never made him try.
right.
Maybe he really is too nervous to drive. Maybe driving really isn't good for him because he just would not be able to ever be calm enough to handle being behind the wheel of a car. That makes it dangerous, not only for him, for everybody else. But we don't know because they never made him try.
And it's gotten to the point where, like I said, if he just kind of claims he can't do it, they're like, "Oh,
Then they
okay,
don't
well,
push.
we won't make you do it."
Right.
So it's gotten to the point, it's like he just, because I think it's kind of like, and this is mean of me to say, but it's kind of like a manipulation thing. He's like, if I just tell people I don't want to do this thing, they're not going to make me do it, and
Right.
therefore I'll never have to do it. So I'm
Well,
going to have to make
because
everyone
there's
else
no
do it.
intrinsic motivation. And I do think that is definitely something that is a factor with his autism, because I do feel like he probably would fall more in the level 2 support need, like much like Noah. But I intend to at least push him to try to drive, right? I intend to push him to try to be as independent as humanly possible because I'm not going to be around for the rest of his life,
Mhm.
right? Like, at some point, I'm going to have to leave the earth, most likely before he does. So he's gonna have to know how to take care of himself, at least a little, right? And if he does need support needs, that's something we can address on top of that. But I don't know what he's capable of unless I push him to try. He doesn't know what he's capable of unless he pushes himself to try. But I don't know. I feel like that's where shit gets tricky, right? That's where we can get canceled real fast. It's like, I feel like as a parent, I can say this. As a parent, it is my job, no matter what the situation is, to prepare my child as much as possible for life, right? And prepare them to live life without me, whatever that looks like. If it's a child who has high support needs, they're still going to need to be prepared to live life without me at some point, right? Therefore, it's on me to figure out what to do to help them get to whatever that looks like for them at
Mhm.
the highest potential possible for them, right? So, it for my children, that looks like Nicholas being able to get himself to and from school by walking home right now at the stage of life we're in. That looks like forcing him in the mornings to be responsible for packing up all of his own stuff, including his lunch, getting his own breakfast, utilizing the dishwasher, learning how to use the washing machine from start to finish, handling all of those things, because I want him to be able to live on his own because he's capable of doing so, right? He's capable of living on his own. And I do believe the same of Noah. But I don't know those things for sure unless I'm pushing.
Right.
At least a little, right? At least a little. If we're never met with anything challenging and uncomfortable, we cannot grow as humans, no matter what our developmental status is, right? No matter where we are on the spectrum of human life, from neurotypical to the highest support need, we don't know what that looks like. They're both verbal, right? They're both not physically disabled. So there are not as many barriers to entry to I don't want to say normal, but as normal as possible of a life for them. Therefore, it's my job to prepare them for a life with as normal as possible outcomes, right? While still helping them understand who they are and how their brains work so that they can apply that to their lives. That's my job as a parent. My job as a parent is not to make them solely dependent on me. And that is the one place where I feel like my mother, though we've had issues, did a very good job. She did not make it to where I was solely dependent on her. I was always striving to be as independent as possible. Was that to my detriment at times? Yes, absolutely. Because doing anything too much is to your detriment. But I do think it set me up for life in a different way than it would have had she infantilized me, right? Like you said, to use your word, and not challenged me to do anything outside of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's kind of like we talked about. Like my mom didn't necessarily maybe do absolutely nothing, but
Right.
like I was learning to like I even still have the scar on my wrist from when she had me using the stove
Mhm.
at 6 years old. Like
Yeah.
granted, not saying she was out of the room,
No,
but
but still.
she's like you. It's like, oh yeah, you could try. She's like try like scrambling. I think I was like probably scrambling eggs, something like that. And so I had moved too fast and hit the side of the pan, so now I have a curved burn mark on my wrist. So I feel like, and like I said, she had me do challenges more in the fact of like academic.
Yeah.
Like I said, focus on school, stuff like that. And so,
I feel
but
like
it's
financially she set you up better as well. Like she taught you better
value, like
value
the,
of because while I had a lot of life skills things taught to me on like this is how you navigate the world kind of sense, and like this is what life is like and life's not fair, get over it kind of mentality, and learn to do it yourself because if not, nobody else is going to do it for you. I got like the School of Hard Knocks version. You got the like, this is how you be an adult on paper. Do you know what I mean? Like you got
mhm.
the this is how you be an adult on paper version of life.
It's
As to where
more
I did
street
not get that.
smarts versus book smarts type of
Correct. You
thing.
got the book smarts down to like the financial security and everything. I probably could have been much more financially secure had I had a better modeling of what that looks like. To be fair, I don't think she did, so she couldn't teach me how. But like that's one thing I wish I probably had better grasp of just now as an adult struggling to, fix financial mistakes we made when we were younger. But I feel like as far as life goes, like you said, School of Hard Knocks versus like college. Do you know what I mean? Like you
And
got
even
the higher education. I got the how to get out the streets. You know what I
And
mean?
well, even in college, my because I was out on my own at that point, by the time I got to university, like I still lived with her when I went to community college, and then once I got to university, I was out of the house. And that's when my depression really started hitting me because it's like what I had was structure before. I didn't have structure anymore. I
Right.
didn't I like teachers didn't care whether or not you were absent, so I
Right.
skipped a lot of classes. It took me like 6 years to earn a 4-year degree, um, and failed out a lot of the classes that way.
Yeah.
Um, so
At
and
least you did it in 6 years. I couldn't get one
yeah.
at all. So there's that.
And it's my mom love her to death, but there was even a point where Scott and I were going to take a train to New Orleans. This was 2012.
I
So I would have
remember.
been yeah, I would have been 22, 23. My mom wanted
Mhm.
to and asked, she's like, "Should I get on should I ride down with you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Should I get on ride on the train down with you to New Orleans and come back?" And I'm like, "No. No.
Yeah.
I'm not having my mother ride down with me on a train to New Orleans when we are perfectly capable of doing that."
I mean, God bless her for like jumping in on our California excursion because we were like, we're
Yeah.
the fuck out of here. And we
We
did
were
not
getting
know what we were
19.
getting into. She looked at you and me both and said, I don't think if Carolyn could have said the word fuck in that moment, she would have.
Yeah.
Carolyn's version of I don't think so in her brain was like, I don't fucking think so. Are you two gonna try to hop a plane to California, LA of all places, by yourselves at 19 years old?
Yeah,
Yeah,
18, 19
18
years
and
old.
19. No, ma'am. She said, I don't fucking think so. And then proceeded to insert herself in that situation, which thank God she did. Because we would have been
We probably would
so
have died.
lost. We probably would have died. Swear to God. We probably would have
We'd
died.
still
We
be
would have
there.
been kidnapped. We'd still be there. Like, it'd have been bad because that was the dumbest thing I think you and I ever decided to do as children, because we were children. Okay. No, never. Okay. I this is also probably going to get me canceled. I don't believe you should be able to be called an adult if teen is still at the end of your age. That's just where I'm at. Like, the older I get, the more I realize just how fucking young 18 is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought I was grown as fuck at 18, okay? I was ready to take on the whole ass world. You couldn't tell me nothing. And that is the most dangerous type of place to be in your life, is when nobody can tell you fucking nothing and you're 18 and you got your entire life to fuck up, but you feel like you have nothing to lose. And that's a big, 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 big problem. And it's wrong. You shouldn't be able to call yourself an adult if teen is still in your age.
It's also like, it's funny the fact that like adulthood is kind of like shifted in age, like when we consider adults, because it's like at 18, like in the 1700s, you would have had like 4 kids by now. You would have married for like 4 years.
You're like 4 years from death at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
so
you're ancient at 18.
Yeah, if you're not married and have 3 kids by then, you're just an old maid.
Right,
so,
exactly. You're a hag.
And then if you're a guy, if you haven't been to 2 wars and owned your own blacksmithing shop, it would have been
and a farm with 35 cows.
Yeah. It's failure. Just absolute failure.
Absolute failure. But like, I don't know, it's just very strange because like I feel like there's some kids who at the age of 18, you're like, yeah, you're ready, right? Like you for whatever reason you got that gene that says you're an adult. And
I'm 34 and I still don't feel ready, okay?
Right, exactly. There are legitimately days where I feel like I get snapped into reality so hard that I look around and I go, oh, who let me get here today? Like, how do I own a home? How did I create 2 other lives that depend 100%
that call
on
me mom?
That call me mom. And now I have a 4-legged one as well. I have a full-time job. Who the fuck gave me one of those?
What right do I have to this?
What right do I have to allow myself to be here right now in this fucking moment? And then it makes me want to have a panic attack. And so I think my brain, out of safety, slaps me back into whatever fucking weird deja vu life I live. And is like, nope, it's okay. It's safe. You're all right. It's fine. All of this is none of this is real. It's all fucking simulation. You'll be fine. Just go to bed and you'll wake up in the morning and it's fine. Right? Like, I can't be too present because if I am too present, I will lose my mind because all of these things are somehow my responsibility and I don't know how I arrived here.
Well, it's kind of like for me, it's like I don't have kids or anything, but it's like I have a paid off car. I have like my house is over halfway paid off, and it's also like, but I have a job where I am the person in this department that all these people depend on for this information.
Right.
Like I literally just got certified for that. Basically, I have to know this shit. Like every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, am I the adult in this situation? Why am I the adult in this situation?
Why are you asking me?
Why am I the expert? Like, and then because like I can't talk to them like I could.
You have the letters after your name now. That's why.
I couldn't talk to them like I could when I was a teller or when I was in the call center. It's like, and I still talk to them as if like I don't like get overly professional with my coworkers anyway. But it's also like when they're asking me for advice, I can't be like, the fuck you mean? Like, like
why the fuck are you asking me?
Yeah, the fuck you asking me for?
It's like,
I don't fucking know.
because you're supposed to. That's why you're asking
me. It's like, damn, people depend on me. That's why I can't become a nurse for other reasons. But it's like I can't be in charge of people's lives. Like, dear God. So anyway, that's really far off from the topic of accommodations, but here we are. This is typical.
Yeah, and none of my soundboards will work, and I'm real mad about it because I was gonna do the oh shit, not good. But it's not working, and I don't know why it's not working, but it's not working.
You just have to imagine in your brains. Oh
Fuck
shit, not
off.
good.
This is not good. I want to have my soundboard. Now I'm wondering if our outro will even play. That'll be fun. Let me click back to preview and then click back to live and see what happens. See if that fixes it. We're going to see if it fixes it, folks, because we have to have an outro. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can play Oh Shit Indian.
Oh shit, not good.
Got it.
Yay!
Yay!
You have the power back.
I have the power back. It's great.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Oh boy, we've devolved. We've devolved.
I love it. That's all we can play of that song, or we'll get fucking copyrighted. 9 seconds is the max, folks. And then they're like, fuck you. That's not your music. Cancelled.
Canceled so many times.
Fuck. I'm yawning. Oh no. It's not even 10 o'clock, but I have fucking exactly 22 minutes left before my brain shuts down. So that you can't even start with me right now, body. I have 22 minutes, okay? That's just rude. He's prematurely shutting me down, and I don't appreciate it. It's probably because I was up till like 2 a.m. last night, which is unlike me to do.
That is unlike you.
I was binging a show.
Which one?
Ma'am. A couple. I did. I was watching Selling Sunset for a little while, and then
I've seen a few episodes of that.
And then I quit that and went to this one called Unwell. It's a Netflix series, and they talked about like all these different things, like essential oils and tantric sex and ayahuasca. Like each episode was about a different thing. How it's like they have some views that are like, these are wonderful things and you should do them, and other views that it's like, this could fucking kill you. Like, could you not be stupid, please?
Isn't ayahuasca like a cactus thing?
No, it's a vine in the Amazon, and it has there's this other root. There's this other plant that you put in it that has naturally occurring DMT in it, which is a hallucinogen. And then the ayahuasca root is put in there because it keeps that, it protects the DMT from being metabolized in our system. And so it creates this drink called ayahuasca, and you drink it and then you fucking trip balls.
I'm thinking of peyote. That's what I'm thinking of.
Peyote is a little different. So you drink it and you trip balls. Basically, but it's sort of been appropriated much like other things.
Natural LSD.
Yeah, but it's not safe though. Like, it's scary and you should not fucking do that shit.
Neither's LSD, so there you go.
Right, it's scary. Like, it's not meant to be used the way white people are trying to use it, so you need to leave it the fuck alone.
Fucking white people.
Fucking white people. I swear to God, everything we touch, we fuck up. Just leave it alone. Okay, let the POCs do their shit. Let the indigenous folks do their shit and leave their shit alone, okay? These people were born, bred, and raised around this shit, right? They know what they're doing. This is ancient fucking wisdom, and we are just trying to white person our way through these ancient religious, practices and shit, and appropriate the fuck out these people, and we're paying dearly for it with our lives most of the time. So leave it alone, okay? Leave it in the jungle with the indigenous folks where it belongs, right? Be respectful and quit appropriating shit that's going to kill you, because it will, right? It will bite you back, bitch. Leave it alone. So that's my opinion on that shit. But it's just interesting. I have this very wonderful fascination lately with being disillusioned, right? Like, I feel like I've spent so much of my life being very gullible and just buying into shit. And it's nice to kind of be disillusioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've sort of become more open-minded as a person, and I've gotten, better about my black and white thinking, it's fun to kind of explore all of these things that I used to have positive opinions about and get a negative opinion about them and just see what happens, right? Or like get a different viewpoint on it and just see what my brain does with it. You know what I mean?
Get out of your cognitive bias, like your confirmation bias, not cognitive bias.
Out of my echo chamber,
confirmation
right?
bias. Yeah,
out of my echo chamber. And then and confirmation bias. Yes, there's a podcast I listen to as well. It's called Maintenance Phase. You'd really like it. I know you don't really listen to podcasts, but you'd really fucking like these two. They talk about a bunch of like dieting and shit, and then they also did like an anti-vax one. But basically, they just take these like ideals and diets and things like that, and they break it down and sort of make fun of it at the same time, but also like give facts and then give opinion, but you know what's what, right? Like it's a very like straightforward but a very disillusioned take on it. They don't sensationalize these things like you see a lot of people do, like paleo diet and keto and all these things, right? Like they tear these apart in a good way. And I used to call it my daily dose of disillusionment because I binge, right? It's what I do. I can't help myself. So once I start one, I just fucking roll through it. And I called it my daily dose of disillusionment because I used to believe all of this wellness bullshit, right? That has come out as snake oil shit. And it's just interesting to get a different perspective on it. But anyway, that's my my soapbox on disillusionment and how healthy it can be for you.
And on the flip side, she's watching all these educational things. I started watching the Clone Wars because I'm an adult.
I mean, that's fine. The cartoon one?
Yep, because
Yeah, I mean,
I've been liking Ahsoka so much, the live action, the new Disney channel, like Disney
I am
Plus
so
Ahsoka
behind.
series.
I'm such a bad Star Wars fan. I am so behind on all of that.
It's fine.
It's not fine.
I mean,
I should have my Star Wars card revoked. My fan card is needing to be revoked.
So I started watching Ahsoka. We really veered off topic.
Yeah,
here,
we did.
But
yeah,
we did.
It's
okay. I started watching Ahsoka. I'm pretty sure we were done with our topic anyway.
We are.
This is just our bullshit thing. I started watching Ahsoka, and not that I was necessarily confused, but there are like stuff because basically people were saying, "Oh, this is just the 5th season of Rebels, one of the other cartoons."
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, never seen it. Fine." And so watching it, I'm like, "Okay, I can kind of get it because they do well enough to like explain, exposition
give the
dump.
backstory." Yeah.
Yeah, and so like it's like, okay, I don't know who these characters are, but I understand their motivation. And so I watched like the first few episodes, and then I'm like, I should probably watch at least the last episode of Rebels. And that like really cleared things up for me because I'm like, oh, that's why they're looking for this person. That's why she has this thing. And like,
yeah.
But then I'm like, man, this show is so good. It makes me actually want to watch Clone Wars. So I just finished like episode like 14 or 15 of Clone Wars. So you are getting educated. I am watching Star Wars cartoons from 15 years ago. We are not the same. We are not the same.
That's okay. Usually you're educated and I'm watching stupid TV because, well, you also have to understand I am in between. Like I have no more Housewives to binge. So I'm like waiting for the weekly episodes to come out, and like Beverly Hills is starting in November. Salt Lake City just restarted. OC is going to be wrapping up. And then Atlanta just wrapped up. So like I have no more reality television to watch daily anymore. So I have to find something to fill the gaps in between. Stop it. God damn it.
Did you ever watch the Kardashians?
No.
I watched 2 seasons.
I feel like I'll never stop. I feel like I'll never stop.
Well, I think it's over now, but I watched 2 seasons of them, and like the one season or one of the seasons of it was just Chloe and Courtney together, which I think I liked more because I don't like him that much. But I watched like 2 seasons of that, and that's also the same time I watched like 2 seasons of The Housewives of New York. So that's the only Housewives I've seen. So yep.
Yeah. So and I'm also watching New York. Yeah, because that rebooted with a whole new cast. So like they fired everybody and hired a whole new cast.
Good.
And yeah, I know it was. They were getting uninteresting, so it's fine. They literally did a clean house and hired a whole new cast. They're all younger, and so it's more interesting now. But we're going to be probably wrapping up that one in the next few weeks. So it's like I really should just do a Housewives podcast. I really should, because I'm so invested in these fucking ridiculous humans. And I didn't ever plan to be.
My boss watches Housewives, so
I never
told her
planned
that you watch
to
Housewives.
be. Like, I never planned this. This was never the plan. Fucking Emily D. Baker, which if you don't know who that is, please go look her up. Emily D. Baker, okay, fucking got me down this rabbit hole because she covers all the pop culture lawsuits and shit. And I wanted to know who the fuck Eric Jane was. And that's what started this shit. Because I just wanted to know who Erica Jane was. And I can't watch a season. I can't watch a show from like season 4 or 5. I have to watch it from episode 1, season 1. Right? Like,
that's
and all the way through. And I didn't realize there was 20 goddamn seasons just of Beverly Hills alone. So like, I was so in it. I couldn't fucking I couldn't dig out. I can't, and I still can't dig out.
That's such an ADHD thing, because that's me right now with the Clone Wars. It's like, well, once I watch Clone Wars, I gotta watch Rebels, but then I gotta watch Bad Batch, and then I gotta watch Tales of the Jedi, and then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna get into it now, and then so I can't,
but I have to
like,
be
I can't just
mentally
watch
ready.
the recommended episodes. I can't watch like the recommended episodes. I have to watch all of them, otherwise I'm gonna be fucking confused, and I need to know everything.
Correct. I don't like to not know. I don't like to have watched something happen and be like, wait a minute, there's a backstory there that I don't understand, right? So I have to go and figure out what the fucking backstory is. So then I have to watch from season 1, episode 1, and I just can't. I have to be so ready for that mentally. But anyway, I digress.
So, accommodations. I think we're done.
Yeah.
We accommodate ourselves by watching trash TV and cartoons. So
yes, we do. That's our way of coming down from our daily lives, is just watching garbage television. But it's fine.
Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. We're trash pandas, trash humans. It's fine.
We are. Okay, well that's it. That's all I have for you today. Please don't cancel us. We really are nice, and we're not ableist. We're just trying to discuss.
We're disillusioned.
We're just getting disillusioned. Yes, we're not ableist. We're just getting disillusioned and discussing. We like to discuss the funny and lighthearted stuff, but I feel like we kind of got to talk about some harder stuff too. Like we got to talk about this shit. It's got to be talked about. I feel like we're not helping anybody if we're not giving the full spectrum, so to speak, here of what it's like. So, next episode, I think we decided we're going to pick another form of neurodivergence to discuss. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably try to do a couple of episodes like that just to kind of get back into the swing of things, because these conversational ones are great, but I feel like I don't want it to become entirely that, So like we'll do some academia for you people who like to learn about these things like I do. And then we'll just sprinkle in the conversational pieces too, because I have another episode I'd like to do that's kind of conversational, and it's about absolutes and black and white thinking. And
what you were just talking about.
And politics and things like that.
Oh,
and how that applies to
you really want to get us canceled, huh?
How black and white thinking can affect political choices and political views and things like that. So
yes,
because we're going to talk about it, damn it. Her and I used to differ vastly in our political views. And I have since changed a lot of mine. So that'll be a fun conversation.
And I used to be a lot different than what I am now. So
true. Yeah, I think that's normal, and we'll talk about it. We'll get into it at some point. But anyway, Aminder, we're going to talk again tomorrow. But y'all won't hear us until next week. So goodbye. I love you. Goodbye.
I love you. Bye.